Good morning. This is November the 14th, Thursday, 2024. We are in BBIS first year compulsory English class. And we have been reading the essay Rhymes with Fungi Free by Manjushree Thapa. Mind the wire as you walk. Mind the wire. Mind the wire as you walk. And yesterday we just started, I guess it is the third section, I'm not sure. And I said that the writer divides the memoir into sections. And if you saw carefully, the function of this section break is important because it shows a break in time, right? There is a gap, break in time. Okay, so let's move ahead now. As the section changes, the decade changes. In section 1, we read about 1970s, section 2, 1980s, now section 3, 1990s. And you see in section 1, 70s, she was 5 years old, right? In the 80s, she was 16 years old. In the section 2, right? Now in section 3 it's 10, so we can say she should be in her 30s, right? So this memoir records facts from her childhood through her teenage to her adulthood, right? It was the late 1990s in Seattle. Where is Seattle? Where is the city of Seattle? Any idea? It doesn't occur to me right now. Any idea? Anybody can help me? Which country has a city, a very famous city, Seattle? Is it America? UK? I guess it should be America, I guess. Seattle. It's a name heard again and again. Okay. And I was at the end of my 20s. So you can easily guess. She was in 29 or 30, end of 20s, right? Before 20s are teens. You begin your teens from 13, right? You say I'm 13, 14, till 19. You are teenage. And when you step 20, you are in your early 20s. 21, 22, 23, early, 4, 5, 6, mid-20s, 7, 8, 9, late 20s, 30, early 30s. That's how you calculate your age. Having spent the better part of the decade in Nepal. Now, the remarkable thing about section 3 is that previous section 1 and 2, she spent in foreign countries, Canada and America. Now she says she lived in this third part for 10 years in 20s. Now, you should have some idea about this thing. Important because in 1990, that is becomes number 2046, there was a political change in Nepal. The king's monarchical system was toppled down and multi-party system was restored, right? That's important to keep in mind. Why? Because her father was a political figure. Bes Bahadur Thapa was a candidate in the election from Rashtriya Prajatantra Party. And he was ambassador. He was a king's favorite figure. So he was a royalist. Bes Bahadur Thapa was a royalist. He favored king. Whereas Manjushree, as I understand, she was anti-royalist. She was anti-royalist. She did not favor king's rule. So there was an ideological divide between the father and the son. So having spent the better part of the decade, look, this word better, I'm not able to understand this. Does she mean that her stay in Nepal was more enjoyable, or does she mean that larger part of the decade? I'm not clear. Battling, it felt like for some personal freedom. Now here we understand the meaning clearly, that it's not good, because she says she was battling, it felt like for some personal freedom. So do you see, in writing, writers can make criticism in a very subtle way, very subtle way. So when she was in the previous section in America, the idols she had were the tennis players and singers. And her major, her concern was about freedom, right? Now here when she was in Nepal, she says, I was battling for freedom. So what might this mean? It might mean that by her 30s, she was 20, 25, when she came here, and she must be ideologically mature. Her outlook was prepared, Western outlook. So she was a girl with a Western outlook, came to Nepal. Now you can see there will be a clash between two cultures, the culture in her mind and the culture in her family and society. That's why she says she was battling for freedom. Because in our culture, do you realize women, not now, but in those days, let's say when she's talking about almost 30, 40 years before, women were more under control, right? So I had more or less gained it. In reading, when you read one, I guess, but if you don't know, this it is pronoun, you must connect it with this noun to understand it. So it means freedom. I had more or less gained freedom. So this line shows very clearly that her life in Nepal in 1990s was not very easy, because she was battling for freedom. I had worked in and outside of Kathmandu. Now she was a job holder, maybe she was a writer. I had found my calling, writing, not art. In the second section you read that she wanted freedom, so she wanted to join art. Though she says not art, but I will say that writing is also kind of art. Literature is art, right? So I was explaining this phrase yesterday, I had found my calling, and I told you that now you should find your calling. I found my calling in 1987 when I was 18. When my principal one day called me and said you should be a teacher, I became a teacher. I found my calling. And till today it's 13 and 24. 34, almost 36 years I've been teaching, and there is not a single day when I'm sad out of my class. Never. Though I have had ups and downs in teaching. That's my calling. That's what I like most. So what is calling? Something that you enjoy doing in your life. I had successfully avoided marriage. Now, this interesting. When I was reading this line, I was uncomfortable. I was especially uncomfortable with this adverb successfully. I was uncomfortable. She is 25, she is in her early teen, mid-teen, let's say, 25 years old girl. And she says, I had successfully avoided marriage. Maybe that's one reason she is talking about battling and freedom. Maybe when she came to Nepal, her parents must have pressurized her to get married, right? Because in Nepal, if you are over 20, then you get constant pressure. My daughter got married when she was 26. She just finished masters and she got married. So we expect girls to get married. Even many doctors say these days that if you do not get married by 25 and if you do not have a baby by 30, you will have a tough time having babies later on, right? So we have this feeling that girls should get married by 20, 25 and they should be a mother by 30. But here we read, I successfully avoided marriage. So do you see, she is seeing at marriage as something that takes her freedom. For girls, being married means Many people argue. I won't agree with them, but many people argue, particularly feminists argue. Those women and ladies who struggle for women's rights, they argue that marriage is legalized slavery for women, right? So go home and this afternoon ask your mother, interview your mothers this line and know their view. Do they feel like that? Ask your mama, did you want to avoid marriage when you were married to my daddy? And listen what they say. Okay. Avoided marriage, fallen in and out of love. Now, do you see very clearly the values here? This narrator is promoting Western values, not Nepalese values. According to Nepalese values, you should be married and then you should be in love with your husband. But this narrator says, I avoided marriage and I would fall in love, then come out, fall in love, come out. So she was having multiple relationships now. And she was not getting married. This is something, if you are a conservative, and if you look at this from the conservative standpoint, this is not something good for Nepalese, according to Nepalese cultural values, right? But if you think from today's standpoint, it's fine. And I had even for brief spells lived alone. Now, as I was reading this line, I was troubled. I was not comfortable because I imagined she's my daughter. And then I imagined, why would my daughter live away from my home? Now, you can easily guess that maybe she was having friction with her family. Maybe she was not comfortable with parents and mother's demands and things. But I don't know why she would live alone, why she would not marry, live alone. This is the meaning of freedom. Look, many feminists argue that as a woman, you are free only when you can live your life on your terms and conditions. So she wanted not to marry, she didn't marry, freedom. She wanted to live on her own, she lived on her own, freedom, right? In rented apartments, this is completely American culture. There is one essay in your book, The New Directions, which is not in your course. The first essay, American Values and Assumptions. If you read that essay, at one point you will read that Americans are individualists. What does that mean? It means in American culture, if you pass high school, and after high school, if you live with your parents, people will think you are a very immature fellow. You can't be on your own. So American families expect their children to get a job or earn money and rent a room and live on their own after they pass class 10, high school, or 12, let's say. High school means grade 12. Once you finish schooling, you're not supposed to live with your family. Now here, you're bachelors, your family is paying your fees and everything, right? It's a difference, right? So lived alone in rented apartments, escaping the exhausting sociability of Nepali society. Now this is even more troubling. Look, she's in Nepal, she doesn't live with her family, she doesn't get married. So, and what she says, escaping the sociability of Nepali society. Look, she avoided meeting Nepalese people even inside Nepal. This is very troublesome line to read. And this line clearly makes you understand her identity problem. Because we read earlier that in America, she hated Nepali people in a sense and she didn't meet Nepali people. Now she's in Nepal and she says, I didn't socialize with Nepali people. Why? You know, in Nepali people, if you are 25, you are a girl and you are not married, if relatives come to your home or you go to them, the first question is asked, "Biha kaile गर्ने हो त छोरी?" You may have faced this question, you may have. Directly, indirectly, they will keep nagging you. And if you are married, and if you don't bear a baby within 2-3 years, "Dhilo bhayena chhori," they'll keep saying. The neighbors, everybody. Maybe she was avoiding Nepali society to avoid this kind of pressure. Where is the attendance sheet? Right, just a minute. Okay. I had been able to make a conflicted home in Nepal. See this adjective, a conflicted home. Previously, if you remember, she used a single inverted comma around home, where she said that my home was not a home for me because maybe she means she didn't get the freedom she wanted, right? So do you see, there is a generational gap in her case between her parents and her. Maybe that's one reason of this conflict. She, as a young girl raised in America, she has all the American values, Western values, whereas her family may be still having the Oriental values, Nepali values. Conflicted home in Nepal. This, keep in mind this adjective, don't forget, conflicted home. She was not comfortable. She had a home, but not comfortable. And I guess now these days, as I understand, she keeps up and down between Canada and Nepal. I don't know if she's a Nepali citizen, I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure I guess she has taken a PR, Canadian PR. I don't know, I may be wrong. In Nepal, I switched back to using my full name. In this essay, name is at the heart of this essay because in the very section 1, if you remember, she is in the doctor's clinic and she's waiting for the doctor to get medical checkup. And the receptionist who has her name file, she can't pronounce her name. That's how the essay begins. And names are a fundamental source of your identity. I told you yesterday how my biology teacher called me Bahadur and how I started crying. My name was Divakar, not Bahadur. But when he renamed me as Bahadur, he was insulting me, right? So you can change people's name to demean them, to insult them, right? In Nepal, I switched back to using my full name, Manjushri, as it induced anxiety in no one. In Seattle to study creative writing, I reverted again to Manju. I don't know, sometimes I wonder if I go to America, I haven't been to any Western country till now, how will they pronounce my name? If I tell them my name on the counters at the airports, will they understand my name, Divakar? So sometimes I tell English people my name this way. I say, this is my name. And I air them, I'm not Johnny Walker, please, I'm Divakar. Then they get my name. They read these two phrases, the Walker, and that's my name, right? So I sometimes wonder, will I have similar situation when I go to America, if I go to America? In some ways, I was more at home here than in Nepal. Here means Seattle. I was more, is Seattle a Canadian city? Anybody? I'm not sure. I've heard this name time and again, but I'm not able to decide which country it belongs to. Yeah?
It's an American city.
Which city?
Seattle is an American city.
Okay. Are you sure? Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you for helping us find out. In some ways, I was more at home here than Nepal. Look this line. She is more at home in America. Right? I sometimes have this feeling. Not as strong as she has. ऐसा होता है हमको कि चलें उधर ही रहें, सब साथी लोग उधर ही हैं, बचपन के साथी उधर ही हैं, है कि नहीं? ऐसा होता है, right? I relished my personal freedom in Seattle. See this word, personal freedom. What is personal freedom? If you want to smoke, smoke. Nobody should object you. If you want to take it easy, sleep with a guy, sleep. Nobody should object. You want to date? Date. Nobody should object. Personal freedom. I'll do what I want. Drink? I'll drink. I'll go to the pub. I'll go to nightclubs. Why should anybody complain me? That's personal freedom. And she got that in America, right? But if you are a 25-year-old daughter and you go to nightclubs here in Nepal, I guess there'll be some, maybe parents will be concerned. Sorry, kahan gaye ki rati eti? Maybe they will say. That's lack of freedom, right? Reluctant to meet others. Look this line. Reluctant to meet. And this feeling, every time I read that she was unwilling to meet Nepali people, I hated this essay, I hated this author. I was not comfortable. Because I felt that if she sees me, she will hate me. I'm a Nepali. I imagined if this author meets me, she will hate me because I'm a Nepali. So this, have you seen? She again and again writes this thing, that she doesn't like Nepali people. And why, sometimes I wonder, why the people brought this essay in our course. We are reading about somebody who says, I don't like Nepali people. Right? It's so disturbing. It's disturbing. Reluctant to meet other Nepalese, though not for the same neurotic reasons as before. Now, this is a very important word here. Let me explain here. What is neurosis? Neurosis is psychological problem. Neurosis is a bundle of problems, bundle of symptoms. Like, for example, you have heard the word hysteria, right? You have heard the word hysteria. You may have seen some people who faint all of a sudden, who make body movements and they faint and they have foam in the mouth sometimes. Some people say this is epilepsy. Some people are with epilepsy, mirigi, and some people use the word hysteria. They are not same. They are not same. Epilepsy is different. Hysteria is different. Hysteria is a psychological problem, and hysteria is a case of neurosis. Now, what is neurosis? Let me explain you. It's important to understand at this point, because when he or she says, though not for the same neurotic reasons, she says reluctant to meet other Nepali. When she says meet other Nepalese people, don't forget that in section 1 or 2, I forgot, she talks about one Nepali guy who had come to stay in their house in Dasai vacation, and who at night found her and who fumbled and sexually assaulted and kissed her. Right? And she tells us that she didn't like that. She didn't enjoy that kiss. And who forced her to get married. Right? Maybe that memory is, maybe that's one reason she hates Nepali people. Because it was the first guy who sexually assaulted her when she was barely 12, 13, 14, I don't know, was a Nepali guy. So she got this kind of feeling that Nepalese are like that. Maybe that's the reason she hates Nepali. But this question, why does this writer hate Nepali, it can be a part of Tom paper, research paper if you want to explore. One answer is here, neurotic. There is one essay, there's one essay, Katharina Case 4 by Sigmund Freud. You can Google, it's available. In that essay, Sigmund Freud talks about one 17 or 18-year-old girl, Franziska. And when once Sigmund Freud came to a hotel to stay during travel, Franziska was a waitress in that hotel. And when in the attendance register, Franziska finds that this guest is a doctor, then she comes to this Sigmund Freud and says, "Sir, I see you're a doctor." "Yes." Then she says, "Could you help me? I'm sick." Then he says, "What's your sickness?" Then Franziska tells that sometimes I feel dizzy, my head, I feel like something is pressing my head, then I feel something is pressing my chest, then I'm not able to breathe, and then finally I feel like somebody is blowing me, and I fall down, I become unconscious. Then Sigmund Freud was a psychologist. He decides to treat her. And what does Freud do? He says, "Okay, let's talk." They talk. And during talk, Freud finds out that Franziska tells her that yesterday, let's say some day before, I was in my room and I wanted to find out someone. Then I went to look for my friend, waiter, the boy. Then I went to another room. The room was dark. I could not see him. I called him by name. Then from the window, I looked if he was there, another room. And what I saw, that there was a bed and there was another girl lying upside, I don't know how to say it, lying by her back. She was lying by her back, and there was another boy. She was lying on her. And after I saw this scene, I had that symptom. Then they talk further. And she says that when I was 13, once upon a time, me, my mother and my uncle, auntie she says, not mother, she says my auntie, my uncle and me, 3 people went to travel somewhere, and at one place we stayed in a hotel. And what happened, I had my room, my uncle and auntie were in the adjoining room. And around midnight, I felt like somebody is pummeling me in my body. Then I saw that it was my uncle in my bed. And then my uncle had sex with me. But actually, later on, Freud writes that Franziska had told him that it was his father, not uncle. But Freud did not write father because he thought it will be very disturbing for the society. Society won't accept the fact that a father can have sex with a daughter. So Franziska was raped by her father. And that memory of being raped by one's father at 13 is cause of neurosis. So whenever anything reminds her father's sex, she becomes uncomfortable. I told you this story from another story to make you understand that her story about the Nepali boy kissing her, and maybe other sexual encounters she might have had, which she's not telling in this narrative. So my argument is that she has had multiple undesirable sexual encounters in her early teen or maybe childhood. And those undesirable sexual encounters are causing this neurosis. As a result, she hates Nepali people. So I spent this 5-minute time explaining this word to you. Okay. Neurotic reasons, as before. I felt I already knew too many Nepalese in Nepal. Why not, while in America, get to know Americans instead? Fine, no problem. If I know Nepali people, I like to know non-Nepali people, no problem. But saying that I hate Nepalese, that's not comfortable to read. Yet, for the first time in my life, I willingly attended a Nepali function in America. See, for the first time in my life, when she was 30 or over 30, this was a Dasai party at the house of a compatriot, who are compatriot Nepali people who have gone to America and who have been residing there. There I fell in with others of my own half Nepali, half American background. I know many people, as I told you last time, I have my nephews, I have my nieces in America, and sometimes they come here. And last time they came, the biggest problem was toilet. Because in America, she uses a commode, we have pan. So every morning, evening, we have to hold her hand and we have to go our neighborhood asking for a, because at my home, I don't keep a commode for scientific reason. Commodes are unhealthy not good for health, so we keep pan. And she says, no, I can't go to in a pan. One example. And I asked her, do you like Nepal? No. Why? There's dirty roads. Will you come back here? No, I won't come back. She says she's 11. And she tells, whatever you ask, she says, no, I don't like Nepali people. I don't like Nepalese people, Nepalese, nothing. She says, I don't like Nepalese at all. Why? Now I can relate here. She is being reasoned by, she's 11. And she says, I have black boys as my friend, I have white boys as my friend, they're my friends. I'll marry one of them. She's just 11, right? So here, let's read. She meets other half Nepali, half American background friends like her. And in the following months, we formed an easy circle. One of us would call the other around 9 at night and say, hey, what are you up to? And soon we would be gathered at the pub shooting the breeze. Here's a word, and let me write a word for you. Hybrid culture. So this narrative has a hybrid culture. What is hybrid culture? Hybrid culture is one where you are brought up in two cultures and you have the values of both cultures. Sometimes it's comfortable, sometimes it's uncomfortable. Like me, मेरे जैसे मैं यहाँ भी पला बड़ा, वहाँ भी पला बड़ा. तो 20 साल तक मैं वहाँ पला बड़ा, मेरी पैदाइश वहाँ हुई, मैं वहीं रहा. साल में एक बार पिताजी यहाँ लेके आते थे, मैं 20 दिन रहता था. तो मुझे एक साल में नेपाल 20 दिन के लिए देखने को मिलता था. तो उसे होता क्या था कि मेरे दिमाग में बैठा था कि मैं इंडिया का नहीं, मैं नेपाल का हूँ. जब 20 साल के बाद मैंने बीए पास किया तो कुछ लोग यहाँ से गए टीचर खोजने के लिए, लेकिन मुझे यहाँ आ गए. तब से मैं पिछले 30 साल से मैं यहाँ हूँ, पिछले 35 साल से मैं यहाँ हूँ, लेकिन उसके पहले 20 साल मैं वहाँ था. तो मेरे अंदर भी हाइब्रिड कल्चर है। जैसे शुरू में क्या होता, दशहरा में जब दशहरा आता था तो इंडिया में क्या होता दशहरा में कि लोग दशहरा में लहसुन नहीं खाते हैं, प्याज नहीं खाते हैं, मांस मछली नहीं खाते हैं, उपवास करते हैं, दुर्गा जी की पूजा करते हैं। अब मैं यहाँ दशहरा में तो लोग भैंसा काटते हैं, बकरा काटते हैं, सूअर काटते हैं, मांस मछली खाते हैं। तो मुझे बहुत घृणा होती थी शुरू में कि नेपाली लोग बहुत खराब लोग हैं, ये तो मांस मछली खाते हैं। तो अब नहीं होता है, मैं आदत पड़ गई, देखता हूँ। मैंने कभी दुकान में ऐसे जो जाओ रोड में देख के क्या देखोगे कि इतने बड़े बड़े मांस मछली के जो ढेर लगाए होते हैं ना, मक्खियाँ बिनबिनाती रहती हैं। शुरू में मुझे उल्टी आती थी देख करके, कैसे खाते हैं लोग। मैंने कभी ये नहीं देखा भारत में। भारत में अगर तुमको मांस खरीदना है तो दूर जाना पड़ेगा, दूर अलग ही दुकान रहती है, बाजार में नहीं होती है। शराब नहीं मिलेगा आपको, लाइसेंस चाहिए। शराब पीना है तो दुनिया जानेगी आप शराबी हैं। अगर आप शराब पीते हैं दुनिया बोले आप शराबी हैं, आपकी बेइज्जती हो जाएगी समाज में। यहाँ शराब पीना तो इज्जत की बात है। विस्की पीजिए, ब्लैक पीजिए, व्हाइट पीजिए, फाइन। What did I show you by speaking two languages? I showed you I have hybrid identity. She has hybrid identity. And one theme in this essay is hybrid identity. Half Nepali, half American. In my case, half Indian, half Nepali. And in the following months, we formed an easy circle. Let's move ahead. Yes. I learned now. Can you see this one change here? One change in this line is now she is slowly assimilating to Nepali culture. So here we have example of cultural assimilation. What is cultural assimilation? You are brought up in one culture and slowly you come to another culture, and in the beginning you are shocked, you are uncomfortable. Later you start accepting that. So now she starts accepting Nepalese people, right? I learned from them a lesson that has stayed with me. They means the Nepalese compatriots or like her. There are Nepalese who form my community, and there are Nepalese who do not form my community. See, she makes a distinction between two Nepalese, two types of Nepalese. Nepalese and Nepalese. Those who form my community means those Nepalese who are half Nepali and half American, like her, who have westernized values. Maybe this side she means those Nepalese who stick to Nepali culture in America. And it does not matter whether they are in or outside Nepal, ditto non-Nepalese. I don't know, I don't understand what she's trying to say. That's it. I learned from them a lesson that has stayed with me. Let's once again read it. There are Nepalese who form my community, and there are other Nepalese who do not form my community. And it does not matter whether they are in or outside Nepal, ditto non-Nepalese. What might she mean? Maybe biologically they look like Nepali, biologically, but culturally they are not like Nepali. I had my nephew here. They brought my nephew about 10 years before. He was 13 or 14. Why did they bring? They bring to do his Bratabandha. Why did they decide to do Bratabandha in Nepal? To make him feel that he's a Nepali, because he thought he's an American. And I met him for the first time. I asked, he wouldn't speak Nepali. He spoke only English. So I asked him, what's your name? He said, Kaur. I didn't get, sorry? Kaur. Sorry. He was irritated. Kaur. Spell it. A-K-A-R. Kaur. Then I got Akar. His name was Akar. And he pronounced as a Kaur, like Native American speaker. He had native voice. Then because I was not habituated to listen to native speakers, I didn't get it. And then I began to think, oh, this is identity problem now. He tells his name, it's a Nepali name, but he pronounces as an American name, Kaur, and I didn't get it, right? So that's the case here. Ditto non-Nepalese, right? Like Akor, my nephew. Sorry, if he watches my video, I don't know how will he feel. Okay. Let's move on to the next section, maybe fourth section now. Have patience, have patience. Nowadays, let me point one more thing here. This story uses flashback technique. Flashback is a very important technique in memoir writing. What is flashback? You are in 2024 writing a memory and you go back to previous time and you come back. You keep moving back and forth between the past and present. So you will see in this story, there is an interplay between now and then. So if you ask a question, Divakar sir, when did she write this essay? So we know by internet inquiry that this essay was published around 2010 or 13 in Himal magazine. This essay was published around, I've given at the beginning, 10 or 13, I forgot, in Himal South Asia magazine. So this word should hint you when she's speaking. Let's see. Nowadays, I go back and forth between Kathmandu and Toronto. So nowadays means 2010 or 13. We can cross check in the beginning. I have added some information that I took from internet. Nowadays I go back and forth between Kathmandu and Toronto. That means now she lives in Canada, Toronto. At home, look, she calls Toronto at home, not Kathmandu at home. And not in both places. I have settled into being a permanent insider, outsider. Say this. Insider, outsider Nepali. So, at the heart of this essay is that, as I told you, the issue of identity crisis. The issue of identity crisis. Am I insider Nepali or am I outsider Nepali? When I'm in Toronto, I feel I'm insider. But when I come to Nepal, I feel I'm outsider. Some people call me Manjushri, others call me Manju. Now look, how is writing done? One technique, let me focus you. Writing, good writing is like a circle. What do I mean by that? In section 1, you saw the receptionist was calling her name wrongly. So this essay started with the issue of pronouncing someone's name correctly, incorrectly in the beginning. Now toward the end, again the same thing is coming. Look here. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, now Section 4. Now by the time you come to Section 4, again you come here. Some people call me Manjushri, others call me Manju, others call me versions of thereof. Hello, the doctor says as I enter the room. Do you see this sentence? Again, she is in the clinic now. So this essay started in the clinic and ends at the clinic. Good writing, if you remember where do we stand essay we read, it begins with that reference to American foreign specialist about culture, I forgot his name, and ends with the same name. Here also she begins the essay with the clinic reference. Hello, the doctor says as I enter the room. She frowns at the file in her hand, because she wants to read the name, the doctor. Earlier, the receptionist could not read the name. Now, the doctor can't read the name. Manju, I say. Manju, because they are native speakers, not Nepali speakers. Manju, she says. Yes, I say. Yes, that's me. Manju Sri Thapa writes, okay, that's the essay is over here. So do you see the essay begins with the name and ends with the name, right? The essay begins and ends with the name. Now let's quickly wrap up and then we'll do writing. So what do we see in the essay? This essay is a memoir. This is an autobiographical writing. This essay is a memoir writing, autobiographical writing. The writer, when she is writing this essay, is in her maybe 70, 30, 10, 40s or 50s, I guess, because around 2030 this essay was published. I don't know if somebody can find out exact date when she wrote this essay. If you Google, maybe we can find out the date also when she composed this essay. Do we have? Let me take you to the beginning of the essay. We may have some information. Okay, this is not in your book, maybe I got from internet. So, Rhymes with Fun Free, a collection of short stories published in 2013, but I'm not sure when she wrote it. You can log into her Facebook and chat with her if you want to see as a Facebook and see if she answers the messages. It contains 12 stories that explore the lives of Nepali living in Nepal and abroad. So her stories focus on lives of Nepalese living in Nepal and abroad. Her stories deal with the themes of identity, as we discussed, politics. Politics comes more when she talks about embassy situation in Washington. Culture, she talks a lot about culture, particularly her Gunyo Cholo, all that. And the title story, Rhymes with Fun Free, is about a young Nepali woman. Young Nepali woman. Do not say it's about Manjushree, let's say young Nepali woman, the writer, who moved to Canada and struggles to find her place in a new country. So this essay is about struggle of a person to create their own identity, right? It's also reflective writing. As I told you, reflection is you remember your past. Now I'll give you 3-4 minute time. You can ask me open questions on the essay and I'll respond to them. It's for you time to ask me questions. Please ask me any questions from the essay. Okay, open a new page. Open a new page. Write a question. Write a question. Write an essay. Write an essay in which you summarize major ideas of Manjushree's text, of Manjushree's text. Full stop. Focus on themes like identity, comma, politics, comma, culture, comma, diasporic writing, etc. Also, full stop, also give your opinion to what Manjushree says. To what Manjushree says. Now we have 17 minutes left for the class. For 17 minutes, you will non-stop answer this question right now. You can use the book. You can, if necessary, you can get into the book, no problem. you can use the book. But the only rule is your hand must be constantly moving on the paper for 17 minutes. Please do not stop writing until I say stop. Your time starts now. Do not talk among yourselves. It's individual work with pin drop silence. Do not copy from the friend. You can use your own book. Go on writing. Write non-stop for the coming 17 minutes.